Well, I want to ask you a question. How do you articulate or define your concept of God? The reason why I ask this question is I've actually had somebody very close to me ask me about my ideas, concepts, and who is God to me. And quite honestly, I've wrestled for years trying to define or articulate a clear and concise concept of God. But the more I've studied, the more I research, the more I talk to people, the more I actually struggle with trying to define God. Now, the reason why is there are our subjective beliefs and understandings, what we've been taught how to define God, whether it's through the Bible, through the Quran, the whatever religious affiliation or culture you come from, um, they all religiously have a certain concept or construct about who God is. We always refer to God in the masculine. Um, but I actually have found a lot more understanding and a lot more stability in my concept by looking at creation itself. And the reason why I say looking at creation is because creation is very objective in its natural, pure form. If you plant an orange seed, you'll get an orange tree. If you plant an avocado seed, you get an avocado. Like the fundamental laws of nature are so consistent and so sound, and they are objective because it doesn't matter who you are, what you believe. As long as you are accurate in your execution, you will get a consistent result. And for me, this is what I would consider to be truth that you could actually build upon. Um, One of the challenges that a lot of people have with their concept of God is most of it is subjective by who they're being taught by. And even within religious communities, you'll have different denominations, different sects, different levels of understanding, and even different interpretations. So a lot of people, myself included, during my time in a religious community, I often found myself leaving sessions or services with more questions and answers. And I was given a lot of rhetoric, a lot of cliches that sound good. But again, there was nothing concrete that I could take and put into an action plan and apply to my life when it came to the concept of God a majority of the time. And then a lot of what we are taught to be activities or actions that we should live by, they are not so they don't serve us very well. And many people end up being very devout in their religious beliefs, but the reality of their daily lives is literally it's a hell on earth. And the whole concept of waiting till you die to get to heaven and then get your glory, um, to me is actually just subterfuge. To me, it's a cruel psychological trick to play on people, especially people who are less educated or less. I don't want to say intelligent, but they've been conditioned and trained to think a certain way, where they've actually been told to disengage critical thinking skills because they don't want to have the garden of their mind corrupted with foreign seed. Like this is a tool of control that some people I know very well operate in. And unfortunately, there are many people who are so mentally and intellectually lazy that they when they see discrepancies in what they're being told and the reality that's being manifested, they still choose to go along with what they're told. They just the responsibility and accountability of thinking for yourself, it is tremendous, but it's where we get our freedom from. And that's the purpose of Mindsets with Mark Scott is I want people to have intellectual and mental freedom. I understand what it's like to spend most of your life in a mental bondage and then find out what you believe to be true. You find out it isn't true or there's no way to validate it as truth and it hasn't been working. And everybody around you is still loyal to that concept. But I had to break away. I had to be able to ask the honest questions and search for truth and get answers that would work for me and my family on a consistent basis. And I am still on that journey. So that's why I invite you to come along with me to have intelligent conversations about things that a lot of people honestly will not talk about. They don't want to talk about or they're afraid to talk about. So I want to ask you, how do you define and articulate your concept of God? Because that understanding is the foundation for everything you do in your life. And that's why it's important that your belief be accurate when it comes to your concept of God. And no, I do not have a definitive definition or articulation or concept, but I'm hoping by appealing to you that we can come together and help get more clarity, or at least find areas where we agree on in our concept so that we can build from there to have a more productive and harmonious future for our children and succeeding generations. So this is Brother Mark Scott, Mindsets with Mark Scott again. I love you. Be blessed. Peace.